Hello friends, myself Dr. Sachin Arjun Gurule, Assistant Professor from KTHM College, Nasik. So with this video, we are going to start with the morphology of a generalized insect that is belongs to our paper Entomology First. And today we are going to have a topic that is head segmentation in insects. So let's see how the head of a generalized insects is built off and what exactly the segmentation pattern that exists in the generalized insect head. The insect and the other arthropods, they are built on the segmental plan, and their characteristic feature is hard jointed exoskeleton. The cuticle which forms this exoskeleton is continuous over whole of the outside of body and is consist of a series of hard plates. These hard plates are known as the sclerites. Now sometimes the sclerites are articulated together so as to give a precise movement of one on the next, and each segment of the body primitively has a dorsal sclerite. This is known as the tergum, which is jointed to the ventral sclerite known as the sternum with the help of lateral membranous areas that are known as the pleura. So in this way, the whole body of insect consists of the three sclerite: tergum from the dorsal side, sternum from the ventral side, and the tergum and sternum, they are interconnected with one another by a membranous pleurites. In insects, the segments are grouped into three units. Obviously, which is a typical characteristic feature of class Insecta, that is body divisible into the head, thorax and abdomen, in which the basic parts of the various segments may either lost or may be greatly modified into the different group. The typical walking leg retain only on the thoracic segment from the ventral side, which consists of the three segments: prothorax, mesothorax and metathorax. In case of the head, the appendages are modified for the sensory and the feeding purposes, while among the abdomen, these appendages are completely lost in case of pterygote insect, except that some may are modified into the genitalia, and also in case of the Pterygota, they retain some abdominal appendages also. So some of the pregenital appendages, they are also retained into the Pterygotan insects. So if you see overall, the hair of insect actually is the hard, highly sclerotized compact capsule, and it bears a group of feeding appendages around the mouth, which is also referred as the gnathal appendages, and another one is a sensory structures or the sensory organs. And if you see the head is actually the internally a major center of neuroendocrine coordination. So this is just the introduction for the characteristic of the insects. So let's see the head segmentation. So it is absolutely impossible to recognize the segmentation of the head from the morphology in adult condition. The embryological studies may help in solving the problem. According to the phylogenetic consideration, The insect head is in fact a product of evolution, and this can be termed as the syncephalon. Further, this syncephalon is consist of the two parts. Anterior is known as the procephalon and the posterior one is referred as the gnathocephalon. In this way, the insect head is composed of the syncephalon, which is further categorized as the procephalon and the gnathocephalon. Now the procephalon represents the preoral region of the head. Preoral in the sense, this is the region that occurs before the mouth opening. It bears a two paired structures. Obviously these paired structures are the eyes, compound eyes, and the antennae. The procephalon is thought to be derived from the ancestral head, which is known as the archencephalon, or is also referred as a blastencephalon, after an incorporation at least one posterior trunk segment of the ancestor. And the brain of the insect is considered as a fused ganglion of the procephalon. So if you see this diagram, in the first diagram is showing the basic plan of the ancestors, and in the second diagram this is the basic plan of the body of insect. Now, as we all know that, or we have learned already in the previous chapter, that is, the ancestors of the insects, they are the annelid like organisms. And if you see the characteristic feature of the annelids, they generally have the metamerically segmented body, and within each segment there lies a pair of ganglion, and these ganglion, they are providing the nerves to the organs of respective segment. So in the course of evolution, this procephalon of the insect head is actually derived from the ancestral head, that is referred as the archencephalon or the blastencephalon. And in addition to that, for formation of this syncephalon, there is an incorporation of at least one trunk segment towards the head or into the head of the ancestor, and so that this syncephalon part of the insect is get formed. The second one is a gnathocephalon. Gnathocephalon represent the post-oral region of the head. Post-oral in the sense, it lies after the mouth opening, and it bears a three paired structures: a pair of mandible, a pair of maxillae, and a single labium, which is lysed into the median region. The gnathocephalon seems to be absolutely arthropodal structure. It is mostly developed in order to equip the head with the feeding appendages, because all these mandibles, maxillae and labium, these are the appendages known as the mouth parts and are concerned with the food and feeding mechanism, and it is typical arthropodal structure. Mandibles are useful for the purpose of mastication. Maxillae and labium, they are responsible for holding the food material, when labium, they are providing the cutting action. Embryological and morphological studies have suggested that gnathocephalon is composed of the three segments, and these three segments are referred as the mandibular segment, maxillary segment, and the labial segment. In an adult insect, these segments are evident from their paired appendages into the adult condition. Obviously they are the mandibles, maxillae and the labium. And the subesophageal ganglion is undoubtedly a composite ganglion of the gnathocephalon. So there is no controversy about the segmentation of gnathocephalon. Obviously all they have accepted. This gnathocephalon consists of the three segments called as mandibular, maxillary segment and labial segment. Only the segmentation of the procephalon is all the while the subject of dispute among the entomologists. In this regards, various theories has proposed from time to time, and the discussion on the subject due to its multifold impact is ever interesting. So in the next part we are going to see different theories of head segmentation of a generalized insect head. So obviously there is no controversy regarding the gnathocephalon. It consists of the three segments, is universally accepted. So whatever debate is there, that debate is on the segmentation of the anterior part of the syncephalon called as the procephalon. And for describing the segmentation of the procephalon part, various scientists have put forth a different theories, of which these 5 theories are the common one. The first one is a classical theory, second one is a labral segmental theory, third one is a superlingual segmental theory, fourth one is a Holmgren Hamstrom theory, and fifth one is a Ferris Henry theory. So let's see all these theory regarding head segmentation one by one. So first of all, the classical theory of head segmentation. So this theory is mostly based on the embryological evidences such as the presence of neuromeres, embryonic segmental appendages, and the coelomic sacs which are developed during the formation of embryo. So Goodrich in 1895 proposed on the basis of embryonic evidences that procephalon is formed from the anteriormost 3 somites along the unsegmented apical part. This apical part he referred it as the acron. Means that apical part of the head, so called as acron by this Goodrich, is not considered as any way into the segment of the procephalon. So they have isolated this acron part from the head of insect. These somites or a metameres of the procephalon are commonly called as the preantennal. Here you can see preantennal in the sense as this segment lies before antennae, hence referred as the preantennal segment. Then second one is a antennal segment, obviously is referred due to it has the antennae on that segment, and third one is the intercalaris segment respectively. So in this way, according to this theory, the segments of the procephalon are 3 in number, namely preantennal, antennal and intercalaris segment. So let's see one by one. The preantennal segment is characterized by containing a protocerebral part of the brain and the first pair of the cephalic coelomic sac and the limb primordia in some insects. Here in this diagram you can see the embryonic head segmentation. Here the first coelomic sac is developed, which belongs to the preantennal, but in adult stage this segment is devoid of any appendages. Means once the insect becomes an adult, these first preantennal segment do not bear any kind of the paired appendage. Then second segment is the antennal segment. Antennal segment consists of the deuterocerebral part of the brain. Here you can see in this diagram the second pair of the cephalic coelomic sac in the embryo and the antennae as a segmental appendages which arise into the adult condition. This is about the antennal. And the third one is the intercalary segment, which bears a tritocerebral part of the brain, the third pair of the coelomic sac in the embryo, but again, as like that of the preantennal segment, it is also devoid of any segmental appendages into the adult condition, and it is homologous to the second antennal segment which is found into the crustaceans. Obviously crustacean has the two antennae. Instead of antennae they are referred as antennules, and the Goderich is having a opinion that this intercalary segment may be the remnant of the segment which bears a second pair of antennae as in crustaceans. So hence, according to this theory, therefore it holds that the insect head is composed of total 6 segments. That is, syncephalon consists of the two part procephalon and gnathocephalon, of which procephalon consists of the 3 segment, namely preantennal, antennal and intercalary segment. The preantennal and intercalary segment do not have any segmental appendages into the adult condition, while the antennal segment bears a pair of antennae as appendage belongs to the antennal segment into the adults. While in case of the gnathocephalon, obviously there is no controversy, all they have accepted is consist of the 3 segment, namely mandibular segment, maxillary segment and labial segment, and in the adult condition they are represented by a pair of appendages, that is mandibular appendage, then maxillary and labium. So the theory was being accepted by a large number of prominent entomologists, though they differ in the nomenclature of respective segments and in consideration of the segmental appendages. For example, the Lancaster and Williams, they have referred the eye stalk, these are the appendages of the first segment, and they have named this segment as an ocular segment instead of the preantennal segment. While the another prominent entomologist, Teague and Manton, they consider that the first segment is a labral segment and the labrum as its appendages into the adult condition. So there is also group of workers, for example Eames, Weber, Rampel and Church, they have a suggesting the first segment of the preantennal one bearing no appendage, which has been universally accepted. Means these 3, Eames, Weber and Rampel and Church, they are in support of this classical theory. But another 2 prominent insect morphologists, Snodgrass and Duport, consider the eyes and antennae are the structure belongs to the acron and not to any head segment. And their major argument against the classical theory is that not even a single species of insect in its embryonic condition shows a presence of 3 distinct coelomic sacs and limb primordia, and thus the validity of the theory is still incompetent, deductive and misleading to a great extent, according to the Snodgrass and Dupont. So this is about the first theory of the head segmentation. Then the next theory is a labral segmental theory. Weismann in 1926 reported the two pre-antennal segments with a two paired rudimentary sacs in the embryo of stick insect. The first of these is a labral segment with the labrum as the fuse appendage, while the second one is a pre-antennal segment without any appendage in an adult condition. Means according to this theory, the procephalon part of the insect head starts with the labral segment. Then another entomologist, Runwell and Gingran, also found the two pre-antennal coelomic sacs into the embryo of the locust. All these workers conclude that the procephalon is a four-segmented structure and not the three-segmented which is asked by the classical theory, according to the classical theory. And ultimately, the head is overall composed of total 7 segments. These segments are, the first segment is a labral segment. They have included this acron part which is separated out into the classical theory. They have put into the first segment, that is a labral segment, and labrum is adds appendage in an adult condition. Then second one is the pre-antennal, obviously, that lies before the antennae. Third one is a antennal segment. Fourth one is a intercalary segment. Again, that intercalary segment also do not have any kind of appendage in a adult condition. And obviously there is no controversy regarding the gnathocephalon, consists of 3 segment: mandibular, maxillary and labial segment. So in this way, this theory holds that the head of an insect is consist of total 7 segments, of which 4 segments are going to contribute the formation of procephalon part, and 3 somites of the segments, they are contributing the gnathocephalon part. Runwald suggested that the protocerebrum is composed of the 2 pairs of neuromeres. One is the labral and other is a pre-antennal belonging to the labral and pre-antennal segment respectively. So according to this theory, there are total 7 segments. The next theory is a superlingual segmental theory. Some workers, mostly working on the embryonic development of the pterygote insect, noticed a pair of appendages known as a superlingua, and the hypopharynx is supposed to be formed due to the fusion of this median superlingua with a pair of the lateral superlingui. These superlingui, they are considered as a pair appendage, belong to the superlingual segment. Coordinate confirm the presence of this superlingual segment in between the intercalary and mandibular segment in the pterygote insects. And according to him, the insect head is also consist of the 7 segment in all. The first one is a pre-antennal, then second one is a antennal, third one is a intercalary segment, and fourth one is a superlingual segment which consists of the hypopharynx as an appendage in an adult condition. So in this way, according to the superlingual segmental theory, the procephalon of part of the insect head is consist of total 4 segments: pre-antennal, antennal, intercalary and superlingual, while the gnathocephalon is consist of again 3 segments: mandibular, maxillary and the labial segment. So this is about the superlingual theory. The next one is Holmgren-Hamstron theory. So according to the Holmgren and Hamstron, the antennae and eyes, they are belonging to the acron, and these structures can't be accounted as a procephalic segmental appendages as suggested by the earlier workers who are believing in the classical theory. Their theory is principally based on the skeletal-muscular and neuroanatomical systems of large number of annelids and arthropods. They believe that the proto and deutocerebral part of the insect brain is secondarily differentiated from the annelidan brain, or from so-called as archaeocerebrum. So with this statement, they have maintained a close homology between the arthropodon archencephalon and annelidan prostomium. The procephalon of the insect head is therefore formed after a fusion of single post-oral segment, that is known as the intercalary segment, with the archencephalon or the acron. Means, as like that of the previous theory we have learned, there is no existence of the pre-antennal and so-called as an antennal segment, and all these part they have isolated as a part of acron, and hence according to this theory, the first segment starts with the intercalary segment. So this theory is further strongly supported by the Butt and Snodgrass and Duport. According to the Butt, the second antennae might have been lost in the insects, and the labrum appears to be appendage of the intercalary segment. Means according to these people, the labrum is appendage belongs to this intercalary segment. Snodgrass considered the labrum as a preoral structure, while a Duport as a part of first somite. Means Snodgrass is not considering this labrum as an appendage belongs to this intercalary segment. He called it as a preoral structure, means this is a simple structure that arises before mouth opening, while Duport, he considered this labrum as a part of first somite or first segment. So according to these worker, the intercalary segment is the first true segment with the tritocerebral part of the ganglion, and this theory maintains that the insect head is composed of acron, which is not considered into the segments, and which is followed by the fourth segment. First segment is known as the intercalary. So single intercalary segment along with the acron forms the procephalon part of the insect head, while obviously there is no controversy regarding here also for gnathocephalon. Consists of again 3 segments: mandibular, maxillary and the labial segment. All these are going to form the gnathocephalon. So this is about the Holmgren and Hamstron theory. According to this theory, there are only 4 segments which are composed to form the insect head. And the last theory is the Ferris-Henry theory. Ferris and Henry brought forward a theory of head segmentation on the basis of external morphology of the head of an adult insect and the annelid, and they also considered the nerve innervation of the cephalic region. So according to the Ferris, the head is composed of the 6 segments. These segments are externally demarcated by a transverse sutures. So here you can see these are the transverse sutures which are present into the head. Their assumption is that sutures are showing a clear-cut demarcation between the segments from which the insect head is composed of. The segments are termed as the labral segment. The first segment is a labral segment. Second one is a clypeal segment. Then next one is a oculo-antennal. Oculo-antennal in the sense it consists of the compound eyes and the antennae. And again, the 3 belongs to the gnathocephalon, that is mandibular, maxillary and the labial. So according to this Ferris, the intercalary segment is fantastically investigated, and actually it does not bear any true identity as well as any relevant evidences. They are not agreed with that of the previous peoples who have given a theories wherein they have mentioned the presence of this intercalary segment. This, according to this theory, there is no such intercalary segment present in the insect head. The head consists of the labral segment as the anterior most segment, and there are no pre-oral structures. So he believed that the polychid proboscis is represented in an insect head by the first 3 segments and is therefore metameric as opposed to the stomodial origin. The eyes and antennae are prostomial in origin, and according to the Henry, he asserted that the ganglion are a rule innervates the same segment to which it belongs. Means they have taken into the consideration of the plan of the typical annelids. I have already mentioned the annelid has a metameric segmented body plan, and each segment bears a pair of ganglion, and the nerves which are arises from the ganglion, they are going to innervate into the organs which are located into the same segment. So same fact is explained by the Henry also here in this theory. The tritocerebral part of the brain is thus the ganglion of the labral segment, as from the tritocerebral part of the brain arises a nerve. These nerves are going to innervate or going to provide the nerve innervation to the labral region, and on this observation Henry has asserted that the tritocerebrum is the ganglion belongs to the labral segment. Actually, this theory is discarded by several workers by a simple reason that the hair sutures are merely a secondarily developed unsclerotized region, or the lines forms due to the internal ridges. They may appear simply as a line of weakness, allowing the emergence of the succeeding instar from the old exuvia during the process so called as molting or ecdysis. Means actually, whatever sutures which can be recognized externally from the insect head do not have any significance concerned with metabolism. A homology made by the Henry in between the annulum proboscis and pre-oral part of the insect head is also ruled as the nerve innervation is altogether different in the insects. Again, the embryonic evidences also do not support this theory. Means this theory is strongly rejected by most of the prominent entomologists. So this is about the Ferris-Henry theory. According to this also, it consists of total 6 segments. So let's see a summary of all the 5 theories. The first theory we have seen, the classical theory. According to the classical theory, they have separated a apical portion of the head, which is known as the acron, which bears a compound eyes, and the procephalon, according to this theory, consists of preantennal, antennal and intercalary, and the gnathocephalon consists of the mandibular, maxillary and labial. So in this way, the classical theory holds the head of insect is consists of total 6 segments. According to the labral segmental theory, it also has the total 7 segments. The first one is a labral segment, second one is a preantennal, then antennal, intercalary, which going to form the procephalon part, then mandibular, maxillary and labial, they forms a gnathocephalon part of the insect head. So in this way there are total 7 segments according to the labral segmental theory. In the superlingual theory, again it consists of the 7 segments. The first one is a preantennal, second one is the antennal, third one is the intercalary, and they have added one another segment that is known as a superlingual segment. So all these 4 forming a procephalon part, and mandibular, maxillary, labial, they forming a gnathocephalon part. So according to this theory, there are total 7 segments forming the head of insects. Then according to the Holmgren and Hamstone theory, these eyes and the antennae, actually according to their views, they are belongs to the acron, and they are not considered as a part of segment, and hence the first segment is the intercalary segment only, and this intercalary segment along with the acron forming a procephalon part, and obviously the mandibular, maxillary and labial forming a gnathocephalon part. So in this way, the Holmgren-Hamstone theory holds that the insect head is composed of only 4 segments. Then Ferris-Henry theory, according to the Ferris-Henry theory, again there are total 6 segments, 3 contributing the procephalon, 3 contributing the gnathocephalon part, and according to this theory, the first segment is a labral, then second one is a clypeal, then third one is a oculo-antennal segment, and they have rejected the presence of the intercalary segment. So there is no intercalary segment according to this theory. So in this way, the labral, clypeal and oculo-antennal forms the procephalon part, while the mandibular, maxillary and labial, which are going to form the gnathocephalon part of the insect head. So these are the different theories which are put forward by the different peoples for explaining the segmentation of the insect head. So each and every theory has their some significance and some drawbacks, but still of all these theory, a classical theory of the head segmentation is widely accepted by the most of the prominent entomologists, and according to this theory, the insect head composed of 6 segments, 3 segments contributing procephalon part and 3 segments contributing the gnathocephalon part. So this is about the head segmentation in insects. So if you like this video, please click on the like button, please share this video to your friends, and please don't forget to subscribe my channel to see another video regarding the insect morphology. Thank you very much.